Hi friends, it's Miss April here. How are you? So we have been out of school for a while now, and I don't know about you, but I miss doing science with you. So I decided I was going to do some planting, and I thought maybe you would like to watch me, and maybe if you want to do some planting at your house, that you could try it with your parents. And if you don't have any planting at your house, this might be fun for you to watch and think about what you might be able to do in the future. Um, I have a bit of everything here. I actually have this little greenhouse kit that somebody gave me. Um, it was not expensive. I think it might be from a local grocery store. Um, and it's basically these little pellets, and you can use it to put seeds in to start your seeds. I happen to have some seeds that I have left over from last year that I didn't plant. I have spinach, thyme, sage, and basil. I'm not sure if I'm going to plant them all, but I'm going to do a few just to see what happens. It's going to be like an experiment, like we do in science class. Um, we'll plant some of them and we'll see what comes up. Now, I read the directions, which is really important. If anybody who is in my class knows, it's important to read the directions and follow the instructions. So on the back, it tells you to get some water, some lukewarm water, which I put in this bottle, and to pour it into here. And then we're going to see, it's supposedly the pellets are going to expand. So what's happening here is it's kind of like a sponge. They're soaking up the water. Can you see on the video? They're soaking up the water, and they're getting bigger, and they're floating a little bit in the water because they're lighter than the water, so they're floating, right? That's another fun thing for parents. If you want to do an easy science experiment for your kids, either in the bathtub or in the sink, you can do a what sinks and what floats experiment. And wooden things tend to float and metal things tend to sink, where plastic things, depending on if there's air inside or if they're solid, will sink or float. And you can ask the kids to guess, and then they get to drop it in the water. And you can keep a list of their guesses and then the real answers. And that's a nice science experiment that can be 5 minutes long or 20 minutes long, depending on how much stuff you have and how fun it is for everybody. Okay, so now if you can see, they've gotten a lot bigger. I'll take one out. You can see they've gotten a lot bigger. I'm going to pour a little bit more water on because a few of these don't seem to have expanded. Expanded is a big word for getting big. Expanded enough. So I want them to get big enough that there's room inside for the seeds to go in. Okay, and I'm letting the water wash around so that all of the little pellets have enough water and they can soak it up like a sponge. Oh, there we go. Pretty good. Yes, they're getting bigger. You can see this one on this side is a little smaller, and this side it got bigger. You can see that side's small and that side is big. So this side might need a little more water. So I'm going to put a little bit more water on the side that's small and see if I can expand that side and make it bigger. Very good. Yes, it is expanding. That's another good experiment that you can do at home, moms and dads, is what absorbs water and what repels water, or what does not absorb water. So if you have another one for the bathtub is good, or outside if you have a backyard, you can get all sorts of material like obviously a sponge, but even paper and different kinds of paper like tissue paper or regular notebook paper, um, wrapping paper. You could try a dish towel, you could try a sponge, a feather, um, really even like a wooden spoon, a plastic bowl. If you put water on it, is the water sinking into it? Is it absorbing it? Or is the water sitting on top of it? Is it repelling the water? That's another good experiment to do at home. But just a smidge, that is not a scientific term. That is a cooking term that my mom would say to me, a smidge. A smidge is like a little more than a pinch. A smidge more of water, just to make sure they're expanded as much as I can. And make sure the tops are loose. Now, if you remember, if you were in my science class on the day that we talked about seeds, you remember that seeds are made up of different parts. Seeds have, these are spinach seeds, okay? Seeds have an outer coating that's hard to protect it. Now inside, who can remember what is inside a seed? I'm going to give you a second to say it out loud to your parents or whoever you're watching this with. There's a couple different things inside of a seed. There's a baby plant inside here. And there's also something that's going to help the baby plant grow. What is it? Some food for the baby plant. It's called the endosperm. But you don't have to know the technical term. Just know that inside here there's a baby plant and some food for the plant to help it grow before it gets up into the air and it can get some sunshine and before it gets roots. Okay, so this is going to grow into a spinach plant because there's a baby spinach plant inside here. And this spinach seed is not going to grow into anything else. It's not going to grow into a peach tree. It's not going to grow into a sunflower. This is a spinach seed. It grows into a spinach plant. But sometimes also seeds don't grow. Remember we said sometimes if a seed is old or if there's not enough, something that comes from the sky and it keeps us warm and gives us light, sunshine, if there's not enough sunshine, if there's not enough, something that's very wet, rain, if there's not enough rain, right? Sometimes if the ground is too cold, also, there's a lot of reasons why a seed won't grow. So gardening and being a farmer is actually a really hard job because there's a lot of things that have to go right for your plants to grow. And people who garden and who are farmers are very smart people and they pay a lot of attention to the sun and the weather and how the ground feels and how it looks and the chemicals in the ground. And we've been doing this as humans for a very long time, but doesn't mean we always get it right. So sometimes we could plant these spinach seeds and maybe nothing will happen. But that's okay because remember in science, even when you make a mistake, it's okay if things go wrong as long as you learn from your mistake. Mistakes are not always a bad thing because you will say, oh, the spinach seeds didn't grow. Let's figure out why so next time they will grow. Okay? So we're going to hopefully that they will grow. We're going to hope. We're doing all the things right. We have really good soil. We have nice warm water. We're going to put the seeds in. I think I'm just going to put spinach seeds in here because I think it will be easier for me to pay attention and keep track of what I'm growing if I grow the same thing in one. I have another container back here where I can plant other things. So I think I'm just going to put the spinach seeds in this container. And that will actually be a better experiment because that way, if they're all in the same container, I can pay more attention to them. And I can remember that, oh wait, these are spinach seeds. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm putting a couple spinach seeds in each of these little pellets. I'm kind of pushing them down a little bit, but they don't want to go down too far. So I'm hoping that doesn't mean that they're too hard. But if it is, it's okay. Like I said, sometimes in science we do an experiment and it doesn't work. That's okay. We can always try again another day. Or we can ask another person if they did an experiment and maybe theirs worked. And that's the great thing about science is if lots of us do experiments, then maybe some of us will have a good result, and then we can share a good result with everyone. People don't think about science as being some place where people share, but actually, science wouldn't be science without sharing. Because when scientists, especially grown-up scientists, when they do their experiments and they try to figure things out, one of the things that they do is they write up a paper and they explain what they did, and they say, oh, I warmed up the pellets with water and then I planted them and then I watched them grow and this is what happened. Other people across the world try to do the same thing to make sure that it's actually really working. And then we know, oh, look, that person over there in Pittsburgh invented a new way to grow plants. And the person over way across the world in Japan did it, and it worked for them too. And maybe a person way across the world in Nigeria, they did it and it worked too. So now we've got people all around the world, scientists who are doing science, and we've all done the same experiment and it all worked exactly the same way. And so now we know this is a good way to grow plants. And that works with all different kinds of science. And that's why science is really important, because we actually share and we cooperate. And that's how science is something that you know works, because other scientists check your work when you're a scientist. It's not just, you don't just get to say, I invented this thing and now everybody has to believe me. Other scientists will check your work. All right, so now what it says on the directions, because remember, it's good to read the directions. After we put the seeds in, what do we do? Okay, so then we're going to place the dome on the tray and keep it in a warm location away from direct sunlight. Okay, so right now, this portion of my experiment is done, and we're going to have to wait probably, how long does it say? It's going to be a little while before we see any plants grow. But I will keep you up to date on how these particular plants grow. And you can, if you want to also plant some seeds, you can. I'm going to end this video right now, and I'm going to start a second video where I'm going to plant seeds in a different kind of container. And then I'm going to also transplant a plant from one small pot to a bigger pot to give you some more ideas about things that you can do at home. All right, I hope everybody's having a really good day. I'm trying to keep these videos around 15 minutes long so that they're long enough to keep your guys' interest, but not too long to be boring. If you want to send me a message with any pictures of you doing science, you can send them to me. You can leave a message at the bottom of this link, or you can send them to me at my school email address, which I'm not going to say here in case you're not part of our school. Um, Otherwise, I have contact information on this webpage for the public. Thanks, everybody. My name is Miss April, and I have been doing some preschool science with you today. Have a great day. And remember, stay home and stay safe.